Surprise, surprise, the UK is being held captive once again in one last heave in the apparent battle against the C-19. Boris Johnson announced on Monday night that the planned June 21st Freedom Day will be delayed by another 4 weeks, being pushed back to July 19th due to the Indian variant, which is now being called the Delta mutation. We've seen over the past year with the lockdown the British public following the rules set by the government, the World Health Organization and so-called health experts, being told that we must socially distance, mask up and stay indoors. Hands-face space has been plastered all over the news, adverts, and it has become a cultish mantra that no one stops to question. For questioning the signs and stepping out of line will leave you vulnerable to verbal assault from the self-titled SS, the public who have taken it upon themselves to police on behalf of the justice system. Time and time again we have watched as the government taunt us with the freedom carrot, dangling it before us, patting us on the head, promising us that if we behave and be good, we can sit in slightly larger bubbles and eat indoors once again. Only for our leaders to shove us back into our cage and tell us it's in our best interests, that we wait a little bit longer before we can go into non-essential shops again. Of course, this is all entirely backed by science touted by the likes of Dr. Hillary, who sits pride of place on Good Morning Britain, and guidance from overseas with Dr. Anthony Fauci, whose emails showed that his funding of gain-of-function experiments was merely just a coincidence, right? If it's not mainstream science backed by the science gods, then it is false. We've seen so many scientists and doctors speak out against the restrictions forced onto the masses, only for them to be ridiculed and dismissed, their reputation torn to shreds by the media. But when the science gods say it, then it must be true. We are told that we must wear a muzzle when heading indoors, yet the experts forget to tell us that coverings are actually unsafe and ineffective. You won't hear about surgical coverings offering zero protection against influenza, or that the penetration of cloth coverings by virus particles were almost 97%, and medical coverings 44%. Yet the love for the muzzle continues to grow as coverings have latched onto mouths like face huggers, implanting little fear eggs into the bodies of those who comply. For many of us, it is easy to realise that the covering is simply a symbol of control, a sad statement that screams, "I am good and I do what I am told." It is used as a constant reminder that the deadly virus exists, lurking around every corner, that it could get you at any time, especially when you are shopping at Tesco's. For many, it's become a source of satisfaction, another virtue signalling tool in the arsenal, to show others that you are just following orders and will not hesitate to call you out for failing to cover up your smile. The same people who praise the lockdowns that have flattened the curve and saved a few people from suffering from a snotty nose, but magically forget about the 25 likely child suicides during the first 56 days of the first lockdown, compared to 26 child suicides in the 82 days before the lockdown. They pay no attention to the 7.9 to 9.6% increase in the number of deaths due to breast cancer, due to the cancellation of cancer treatments throughout the pandemic. They ignore the 49% increase in calls to the National Domestic Abuse Helpline in the first 4 weeks of Lockdown 1. It has been made clear that the C-19 deaths are more important than those that have taken place during the country's sacrifice for the greater good. The deaths which take place within the magic 28-day period of testing positive for C-19, even if for a completely unrelated reason, are then lumped into the fear-mongering figure that is flashed across the TV screen. We would like to point out that there is a difference between dying of something and dying with something, and it doesn't take a genius to realise that they have been fiddling with the stats. The largest focus of the past 6 months or so has been the beloved Jabaroo, which has been painted as the key to freedom, the gateway to the new normal, so that you will no longer have to wear coverings indoors and can socially distance a little bit less. Soul-sucking celebrities who have no shred of credibility have towered above us peasants, preaching how getting the jab will save lives and we can hug our granny again if we roll up our sleeves and get injected with this experimental medicine that has caused over 717,250 adverse reactions as of June 2nd, with total deaths from the Jabaroo being 1,295. Yet the deaths caused by this experimental drug fall on deaf ears. The majority seem to ignore the 135 cases of cerebral hemorrhage reported as a reaction to the AZ Jabiru as of June 2nd, and the media continue to be complicit in holding this experimental drug on a pedestal, treating it as the saviour of the pandemic. Of course, it wouldn't be dangerous, would it? That's just crazy talk. You cannot say things like that because you are a conspiracy theorist. But the tables seem to be turning ever so slightly as the Freedom Day delay has hit a nerve with those who have been compliant and have followed the guidelines from the very beginning. People are questioning why we must enter another lockdown even after they have rolled their sleeves up and accepted the experimental drug. The same people who continue to cover up their faces and stand apart from others. They say, but the Jabiru was supposed to stop the pandemic, not imprison us. The hashtag I'm done was trending on Twitter the other day, and it summarised what the public was starting to feel. That after getting the Jabiru and doing what they are told, they won't be allowed out on June 21st. It seems like people are starting to open their eyes, even if just a little, to see what has been happening over the past year has been an opportunity for the elites to steal our freedoms. It's been a game for them to see just how far they can go, how far the public can bend before we break. Whilst we remain hopeful that more people are waking up to this mass deception, we will likely watch in horror once again as the majority stumble along like zombies into their homes and wait for Boris to give the green light on removing restrictions. If we allow this to continue, the cycle of lockdown will soldier on as new variants appear out of thin air and act as the key to lock us in our cells. When will people stop being sadomasochists and refuse to take any more beatings from those at the top who bark orders? The same elites whose rules don't apply to them. After all, it is do as I say, not as I do. When is enough enough?